Have you ever noticed how the most powerful person in a room is rarely the loudest? While others panic, argue, or break under pressure, the Stoic remains an immovable mountain. Today, we reveal 8 silent moves that will make you untouchable, unshakable, and infinitely more powerful in any difficult situation. The modern world is a loud, chaotic arena designed to extract your reaction. Every minor inconvenience, every slight, and every unexpected crisis is a test of your internal sovereignty. Most people fail this test daily. They surrender their peace of mind to rude strangers, unpredictable economies, and the inevitable frictions of human existence. But there is a different way to live. 2,000 years ago, the Stoics, emperors, slaves, senators, and soldiers developed a psychological armor that made them impervious to the chaos of the external world. They understood that true power is not about controlling other people or manipulating events. True power is the absolute, unquestionable mastery of yourself. When you encounter a difficult situation, a betrayal, a sudden loss, a public humiliation, or an overwhelming failure, your primitive brain screams at you to react. It demands anger, panic, or despair. But the Stoic does not listen to the primitive brain. The Stoic deploys silent, invisible maneuvers that neutralize the threat and turn the obstacle into an advantage. Here are the first 2 silent moves of the Stoic master. Move 1. The sovereign pause. The situation: you are sitting in a meeting, and a colleague suddenly throws you under the bus, blaming you for a massive failure. Or perhaps you receive a text message that shatters your reality. The adrenaline spikes. Your heart hammers against your ribs. The biological urge to lash out, to defend yourself, to scream, or to break down is overwhelming. The Stoic move: you do absolutely nothing. You execute the sovereign pause. Epictetus, the crippled slave turned legendary philosopher, taught that there is a profound difference between the things that happen to us and our judgment of those things. Between the stimulus, the insult, the bad news, and your response, there is a gap. For the average person, that gap does not exist. They are stimulus-response machines. You hit them, they hit back. You insult them, they get angry. They are puppets, and the world holds their strings. The sovereign pause is the act of taking scissors to those invisible strings, Julian said. It is the deliberate decision to stop someone else from pulling your emotions like a puppet. When a crisis erupts, when you're insulted, betrayed, or provoked, your first impulse is rarely your wisest one. He let the silence linger for a moment. So you do nothing. You don't lash out. You don't fire off the angry email. You don't defend yourself, argue, or chase validation. Instead, you take one slow, deliberate breath and retreat into what Owen Patrick called the inner citadel, the fortress of your own mind, the one place no insult, no criticism, and no other person can enter without your permission. From that place, you choose your response instead of becoming a prisoner of your reaction. That pause is where your freedom begins. In this pause, you observe the emotion rising within you, as if it belongs to someone else. You watch the anger flare, but you do not become the anger. You say to yourself, "This person is trying to disturb my peace." If I react, I hand them the keys to my mind. I will not give them that power. The sovereign pause is silent, but it is deafening to your opponents. When someone attacks you and expects a desperate defense, your calm, unbroken silence unnerves them. It shows them that their weapons, words, accusations, threats cannot pierce your armor. You are not ignoring the problem. You are simply refusing to let the problem dictate your emotional state. You are claiming the time necessary to choose a response born of logic and virtue, rather than fear and ego. Move 2. Stripping the bark. Objective framing. The situation. You have suffered a massive setback. Perhaps your business has gone bankrupt, your partner has left you, or you have been diagnosed with a chronic illness. The narrative in your head is a nightmare. My life is over. This is a disaster. I am a failure. I will never recover from this. The Stoic move. You strip the event of its emotional adjectives and reduce it to objective reality. Owen Patrick, the emperor of the Roman Empire, was the most powerful man on earth. Yet he faced plagues, invading barbarian hordes, betrayals by his closest generals, and the death of several of his children. How did he keep from losing his mind? He practiced a technique we can call stripping the bark. When a grand feast was placed before him, he did not see a magnificent banquet. He saw it for what it objectively was. This is the dead body of a fish. This is the dead body of a bird. This vintage wine is just fermented grape juice. This purple robe is just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. He stripped away the judgments, the societal prestige, and the emotional weight, leaving only the bare facts. In a difficult situation, your suffering does not come from the event itself. It comes from the story you tell yourself about the event. The narrative is the bark. You must strip it away. If you lose your job, the story is, I am worthless. I am ruined. How will I survive? Strip the bark. The objective reality is, I no longer exchange my time for money at this specific location. I have skills. I am currently breathing. I need to find a new source of income. If someone insults you, the story is, how dare they disrespect me? I look like a fool in front of everyone. Strip the bark. The objective reality is, a human being made vocal cord vibrations that formed words expressing a negative opinion about me. Those words have no physical mass. They cannot cut my skin or break my bones. By silently reframing the situation in stark, unembellished terms, you instantly drain the terror from it. You realize that you are not fighting a monster. You are just dealing with a set of circumstances. This silent move transforms you from a victim of a tragedy into a calm problem solver dealing with facts. It grants you the clarity to see the path forward when everyone else is blinded by panic. As we move deeper into the Stoic toolkit, we transition from internal defense to strategic engagement with the world. You have learned how to pause and how to view reality objectively. Now, you must learn how to handle the unpredictable nature of external outcomes and the chaotic behavior of other people. Most of our anxiety comes from trying to control things that are entirely outside of our jurisdiction. We try to control what people think of us. We try to guarantee success in our ventures. We try to force the universe to bend to our will, and when it inevitably refuses, we break. The Stoic does not try to wrestle the universe into submission. The Stoic flows like water around the rocks of reality, utilizing the next two silent moves to maintain absolute power. Move 3. Strategic silence, the unspoken boundary. The situation. You are dealing with an irrational, hostile, or toxic individual. They are trying to draw you into a petty argument, insulting your intelligence or twisting your words. They want to drag you down into the mud so they can beat you with experience. The Stoic move. You weaponize silence as a mirror, reflecting their chaos back onto them. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, famously said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say." But in a conflict, silence is not just about listening. It is about establishing an impenetrable boundary. When someone is enraged or acting maliciously, they are throwing emotional energy at you, expecting a return volley. They need your anger to validate their own. They need your defensive words to give them new ammunition. When you meet their barrage with absolute, unbothered silence, you starve them of the oxygen they need to keep the fire going. Imagine a coworker screaming at you in a meeting. Instead of shouting back, you simply look at them. You maintain relaxed, steady eye contact. You let the silence stretch. You let their words hang awkwardly in the air. In that silence, the dynamic shifts instantly. They suddenly become hyper-aware of how unhinged they sound. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces them to look at their own lack of control. This silent move requires immense discipline. Your ego will beg you to speak, to deliver a sharp comeback, to win the argument. But the Stoic knows that arguing with a fool proves there are 2. Silence says what words never could. I am not threatened by you. I do not value your opinion enough to defend myself against it. You do not have the power to disturb my inner peace. By saying nothing, you retain all of your power. You give them nothing to use against you, and you preserve your energy for battles that actually matter. Strategic silence is the ultimate expression of self-control, and there is nothing more intimidating to an out-of-control person than someone they cannot provoke. Move 4. The archer's detachment, relinquishing the outcome. The situation you have prepared for months for a critical moment. It could be launching a business, proposing to a partner, going to court, or waiting for a medical diagnosis. You have done everything right, but the final outcome is approaching, and the anxiety is paralyzing you. The Stoic move. You silently detach your self-worth and your peace of mind from the final result. You become the Stoic archer. The Roman statesman and philosopher Cicero used the metaphor of an archer to explain the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control. Imagine a master archer preparing to shoot, Julian said quietly. Long before the arrow ever leaves the bow, every important choice belongs to the archer. They train for years, strengthen their body, steady their mind, choose the finest bow, inspect the straightest arrow, study the wind, adjust their stance, control their breathing, and draw the string with perfect discipline. Every part of the preparation is within their control. He paused before continuing. But the instant the archer releases the string, the arrow no longer belongs to them. A sudden gust of wind may push it aside. The target may unexpectedly move. A bird could cross its path. 100 things outside the archer's control can change the outcome. Does missing the target make the archer a failure? No. Their excellence is not measured solely by where the arrow lands. It is measured by whether they did everything within their power before letting it fly. The outcome belongs to fate. The effort belongs to the archer. In any difficult situation, you must silently draw the line between what is yours to control and what belongs to fate. When you enter a high-stakes scenario, you silently tell yourself, I have done the work. I have acted with justice, courage, and wisdom. The preparation is mine. The effort is mine. But the outcome belongs to the universe. If the business fails due to a sudden market crash, you are not destroyed, because you already accepted that the market was never in your control. If you speak your truth and the other person rejects you, you do not despair, because you cannot control another human being's mind. This silent move, detaching from the outcome, makes you incredibly powerful, because it makes you fearless. When you no longer demand that the universe give you a specific result to be happy, you cannot be threatened. You operate with a calm, lethal efficiency, completely focused on the present action rather than the future result. You do your absolute best, and then you accept whatever happens with tranquility, knowing that you played your part perfectly. In the first 2 parts of our journey, you learned how to fortify your mind against sudden shocks and how to detach yourself from the chaotic outcomes of the world. You learned how to become an immovable object. But Stoicism is not merely about enduring the storm, it is about using the storm's own energy to propel your ship forward. When most people face severe difficulty, their best-case scenario is simple survival. They hope to weather the hardship and return to the way things were. But the Stoic master goes a step further. The Stoic does not just survive adversity. They weaponize it. They take the heavy, suffocating weight of a difficult situation and transmute it into the very fuel that makes them stronger, wiser, and more formidable. This requires a profound shift in perspective, moving from a passive receiver of fate to an active sculptor of reality. Here are the next 2 silent moves that allow you to turn every obstacle into an advantage. Move 5. The blazing fire. Amor fati. The situation. You are trapped in a scenario you did not choose, one that is fundamentally unfair and immensely painful. Perhaps you have been falsely accused of something terrible. You have suffered a catastrophic financial collapse due to a partner's fraud, or you are facing a severe, chronic physical limitation. The initial shock has passed, but now you are left with a grinding, daily reality of hardship. The temptation to wallow in bitterness and ask, "Why me?" is all-consuming. The Stoic move. You do not just accept the hardship. You silently choose to love it. You practice amor fati, a love of fate. The concept of amor fati is the crown jewel of Stoic resilience. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche later popularized the term, but the core principle was lived and breathed by the Stoics centuries earlier. Owen Patrick wrote one of the most powerful metaphors in human history regarding this exact move. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. When a small, weak fire is burning, throwing a heavy log on top of it will extinguish it. The average person is a weak fire. When the heavy log of a difficult situation is dropped onto them, they are snuffed out. They collapse into depression, victimhood, and resentment. But a roaring, blazing fire is entirely different. When you throw a heavy log into a roaring bonfire, the fire does not merely survive the log, it consumes it. It uses the obstacle as fuel to burn hotter, brighter, and larger than before. Amor fati is the silent, internal declaration that you are the blazing fire. When the disaster strikes, you do not curse the universe. You do not wish for an easier life. You look at the betrayal, the bankruptcy, or the pain, and you say silently to yourself, "I needed this. This was designed specifically for me. This is the resistance I need to build my strength. This is the test I must pass to become who I am meant to be." If an enemy tries to ruin your reputation, you do not despair. You think, "Thank you. You have just given me the opportunity to practice grace under pressure, to discover who my real friends are, and to detach my self-worth from public opinion." If you lose everything and have to start from scratch, you think, Thank you. You have stripped away my comfort and complacency. You have given me the gift of a blank slate and the hunger of a beginner. This silent move makes you utterly terrifying to your enemies and entirely unbreakable by the world. How can anyone possibly defeat you if you genuinely welcome every weapon they throw at you? When you love your fate, the concept of bad luck ceases to exist. There is only fuel for your fire. You take the worst life has to offer, chew it up, and spit out greatness. Move 6. The cosmic zoom, the view from above, the situation. You are suffocating under the pressure of immediate circumstances. The office politics are toxic. The deadline is crushing you. Or you have suffered a public embarrassment that makes you want to crawl into a hole and disappear forever. Your problem feels like the absolute center of the universe. It is all you can see, all you can think about, and it is driving you to the brink of a panic attack. The Stoic move. You silently pull your consciousness out of your body and ascend. You deploy the view from above. Human beings are biologically wired to have tunnel vision when stressed. When our ancestors faced a predator, their focus narrowed entirely to the threat directly in front of them. Today, our brains do the exact same thing with modern, non-lethal threats. A nasty email, a failed exam, or a social faux pas triggers an evolutionary response that magnifies the problem until it blots out the sun. We become trapped in the microscopic details of our anxiety. The view from above is the Stoic antidote to this psychological myopia. When the pressure feels unbearable, you must mentally step backward. First, close your eyes and visualize yourself sitting in the room. Then, mentally lift the roof off the building and look down at yourself. See the other people in the building, scurrying around with their own equally urgent, ultimately trivial anxieties. Now, zoom out further. See the entire city. Millions of people, right at this very second, are experiencing heartbreak, birth, death, triumph, and despair. Zoom out further. See the entire globe. See the vast oceans, the continents, the billions of souls striving, fighting, and worrying on this tiny blue sphere suspended in an infinite, dark void. Finally, zoom out across time. Think of the Roman Empire, the Ming dynasty, the ancient Egyptians. Billions of human beings have lived, loved, suffered, worried endlessly about their reputations, and died. And their names are completely forgotten to history. The earth has swallowed them all. From this cosmic, dizzying vantage point, you look back down at the email that made you panic. You look at the person who insulted you. You look at the financial setback. Suddenly, the suffocating weight vanishes. The view from above is not meant to make you feel worthless. It is meant to set you free. It is a silent move that shatters the illusion of catastrophic importance we attach to our daily struggles. Owen Patrick frequently used this technique to bear the weight of ruling an empire. By reminding himself of the vastness of the universe and the microscopic blip of human existence, he found a profound, unshakable peace. When you master the cosmic zoom, you walk through difficult situations with a quiet, knowing smile. You understand that while your current struggle requires your attention and your best effort, it is not the end of the world. It is a tiny, fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of time. This realization drains the panic from your blood, replacing it with a cool, collected clarity. The true test of Stoic power is not just how you handle yourself in isolation, but how you interact with the chaotic, often hostile, theater of the world. Power is not about dominance or aggression. It is about moving through the world with such deep-rooted certainty that others naturally align with your gravity. In this fourth part, we explore how the Stoic prepares for the worst of humanity and how they handle the ignorance and cruelty of others. These two silent moves will allow you to walk into any room, face any adversary, and remain completely unfazed by the unpredictable nature of human behavior. Move 7. The silent rehearsal. Premeditatio malorum. The situation. You are about to walk into a high-stakes, highly unpredictable environment. It could be a brutal negotiation, a confrontation with a hostile family member, or a critical performance. The modern world tells you to practice positive thinking, to visualize everything going perfectly, to manifest success, and to banish all negative thoughts. But as the event approaches, this fragile optimism begins to crack under the weight of reality. The Stoic move. You reject positive thinking. Instead, you deliberately visualize the absolute worst-case scenario. You execute premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. To the modern ear, this sounds pessimistic, even counterproductive. Why would you intentionally imagine things going wrong? Because the Stoics understood a fundamental truth about human psychology. We are not defeated by hardship. We are defeated by unexpected hardship. When you rely solely on toxic positivity, you build a house of cards. You convince yourself that the negotiation will be smooth, that the audience will applaud, that your family member will finally understand you. But what happens when the negotiator insults you? What happens when the microphone breaks and the audience boos? What happens when your relative attacks your character? Your house of cards collapses. You are caught off guard. Your adrenaline spikes, and you lose control. Premeditatio malorum is the act of building a fortress of steel before the battle even begins. Before you step into the difficult situation, you sit in silence. You close your eyes, and you vividly imagine every single thing that could go wrong. The client is going to laugh at my proposal. The technology will fail. My business partner will back out at the last minute. This person will try to push my buttons and call me incompetent. You do not just think about these things. You visualize them happening, and then, crucially, you silently rehearse your response. You imagine the client yelling, and you see yourself remaining perfectly calm, maintaining eye contact, and lowering your voice. You imagine the technology failing, and you see yourself smiling, setting the laptop aside, and delivering the presentation flawlessly from memory. Seneca wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." This silent move strips the future of its ability to surprise you. When you walk into the room, you are already a veteran of the worst possible outcome. If things go well, it is a pleasant bonus. But if chaos erupts, if people act terribly, if the floor falls out from under you, you do not flinch. While everyone else is panicking, you are simply executing a plan you have already practiced 100 times in the theater of your mind. You project an aura of uncanny preparedness that makes you seem almost psychic to those around you. Move 8. The sympathetic shift, pitying the aggressor. The situation. Someone has actively, intentionally tried to harm you. A friend has betrayed your trust and stabbed you in the back. A colleague has stolen your credit. A stranger has hurled a deeply personal, vicious insult at you in public. The primitive part of your brain demands blood. It demands that you match their cruelty with your own, that you destroy them, that you scream, fight, and exact revenge. The Stoic move. You look past the insult and recognize the deep sickness in the soul of the attacker. You shift your internal reaction from rage to genuine pity. This is perhaps the most difficult move in the entire Stoic arsenal, but it is also the most powerful. When someone attacks us, we assume they are acting from a place of power. We assume they know exactly what they are doing and that they have successfully diminished us. The Stoic philosophy completely inverts this dynamic. Epictetus taught that no man does evil willingly. He meant that when a person acts with cruelty, deceit, or malice, they are operating under a profound ignorance of what is actually good. They mistakenly believe that tearing you down will build them up. They believe that acting like a savage will bring them happiness. When you understand this, your entire perspective shifts. Imagine you are walking down the street and a blind person accidentally bumps into you, spilling your coffee. Do you fly into a violent rage? Do you scream at them for disrespecting you? No. You might be annoyed about the coffee, but you feel sympathy for them. You recognize that they lack a vital sense, the ability to see physical obstacles. The Stoic applies this exact same logic to moral blindness. When someone betrays you or insults you, they are bumping into you because they are morally blind. Their soul is diseased. Their character is defective. They are trapped in a miserable, toxic existence where they feel the need to destroy others to feel valuable. The silent move is this. When the attack comes, you do not absorb the poison. You look into the eyes of the person attacking you, and you realize how deeply unhappy they must be to act this way. You realize that long after you walk away, they still have to wake up every single day and live with their own toxic, miserable mind. You are free of them, but they can never escape themselves. Instead of feeling threatened, you feel pity. This silent shift destroys the power of the aggressor. Bullies, narcissists, and manipulators feed on your anger and your fear. When they hurl their best insult at you, and you respond not with defensive rage, but with a look of calm, slightly tragic pity, it short-circuits their brain. You are refusing to play their game. You are looking at them not as a monster to be feared, but as a sick patient to be observed. By refusing to hate them, you protect the purity of your own soul. You refuse to let their moral sickness infect you. You walk away with your character completely intact, leaving them to drown in the shallow puddle of their own malice. This is the ultimate victory. You have now been armed with the 8 silent moves of the Stoic master. You know how to pause before the primitive brain reacts, how to strip the emotional bark from terrifying events, and how to weaponize silence against those who seek to draw you into their chaos. You have learned to detach your worth from outcomes, to love the heavy logs thrown onto your fire, to zoom out to the cosmos to shrink your anxiety, to rehearse the worst before it arrives, and to pity the moral blindness of your attackers. But there is a profound difference between knowing how a sword is swung and actually holding the line in the heat of battle. Information is merely potential. To read about the Stoic philosophy is to look at a map. To practice it is to walk the brutal, unpaved road. In this final part, we must discuss the integration of these 8 moves into a singular, cohesive way of living. We must discuss how you forge what the ancients called the immutable core. The modern world is designed to make you sleepwalk. Through endless digital distractions, cheap dopamine, and cultural conditioning, society encourages you to operate on autopilot. When you are on autopilot, you are entirely at the mercy of external events. If the day is sunny and people are kind, you are happy. If the stock market dips and someone cuts you off in traffic, you are miserable. Your emotional state is a leaf blowing in the wind, completely surrendered to the weather. To execute the 8 silent moves, you must wake up. The Stoics called this state of continuous, militant self-awareness prosoche. It translates roughly to attention or vigilance. Prosoche is the act of standing guard at the gates of your own mind. It is the constant, quiet observation of your own thoughts as they arise. When you are practicing prosoche, you do not just get angry, you watch yourself getting angry. You feel the heat rising in your chest, you notice the clenched jaw, and in that millisecond of awareness, you intercept the emotion before it dictates your actions. This requires relentless effort. The primitive brain will constantly try to drag you back into petty arguments, self-pity, and fear. Building your immutable core means failing 100 times, snapping at a loved one, or panicking over a deadline, but then instantly recognizing your failure, stepping back into the inner citadel, and trying again. The master is not the one who never fails. The master is the one who recovers the fastest. As you begin to apply these silent moves, people around you will notice a change. When crises hit the office, you will not join the chorus of complaints. When someone insults you, you will not fire back, because your reactions are no longer legible to the average emotionally erratic person. They may accuse you of being cold, heartless, or unfeeling. This is the greatest misunderstanding of Stoicism. The goal of the immutable core is not to eradicate emotion. It is to eradicate destructive emotion, what the Stoics called the passions, such as irrational fear, toxic anger, and paralyzing grief. By using your 8 silent moves to clear out this psychological debris, you are actually creating massive internal space for the emotions that matter. When you are no longer terrified of losing your possessions because you have detached from the outcome, you can finally enjoy them fully. When you no longer demand that your partner act perfectly because you view them with objective framing and sympathy, you can finally love them unconditionally. The Stoic does not feel less. The Stoic feels better. The immutable core allows you to experience profound joy, deep love, and a quiet, persistent tranquility, precisely because you know that none of those things can be destroyed by the chaotic outside world. You enjoy the feast of life, but you do not weep when the plates are cleared away. To understand the ultimate physical projection of this power, look to the Meditations of Owen Patrick. He wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break. It stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. Imagine a jagged, massive rock face protruding from the middle of a violent ocean. The ocean is the chaotic world. The waves are the sudden job losses, the economic crashes, the diseases, the betrayals, the toxic individuals, and the unexpected tragedies. The waves hurl themselves at the rock with terrifying violence. They crash, they roar, and they foam. But what does the rock do? Absolutely nothing. It does not argue with the ocean. It does not beg the waves to stop. It does not panic. It simply stands exactly where it is. And because of its silent, immovable nature, the furious wave shatters against it, turns into harmless white foam, and recedes back into the sea. When you master the 8 silent moves, you become the cliff. You walk into the boardroom, the hospital room, or the courtroom, and you carry this heavy, silent gravity with you. People who are enslaved by their emotions will instinctively sense your power. They will try to crash against you. They will try to provoke you, intimidate you, or drag you into their despair. But they will find nothing but solid stone. Your silence, Your objective framing and your sympathetic pity will shatter their fury into harmless foam. Ultimately, these 8 moves are not just life hacks for dealing with stress. They are the keys to the only true freedom that exists. 2,000 years ago, Epictetus was born into chains as a Roman slave. His master could beat him, starve him, or kill him. His physical body was entirely owned by another human being. Yet, by mastering the inner citadel, Epictetus became the freest man in the empire. He realized that while his master could break his leg, not even the emperor of Rome could force him to believe something he did not want to believe, or make him fear something he chose not to fear. Centuries later, James Stockdale, an American fighter pilot, was shot down over Vietnam. He was captured, stripped of his rights, locked in a dark cell, and brutally tortured for over 7 years. How did he survive without losing his mind? He used the exact same 8 moves. He practiced amor fati in a torture chamber. He used the sovereign pause to endure unbearable pain. He realized that his captors could control his body, but only he could control his soul. If Epictetus could find freedom in slavery, and if Stockdale could find power in a prison camp, then you can find it in your modern life. You do not need money, status, or a title to be powerful. You only need the discipline to master your own mind. When you stop fighting the universe and start mastering yourself, you become untouchable. The world can take your wealth, your reputation, and even your health, but it can never take your immutable core. Stand tall, breathe deep, let the waves crash. True power doesn't scream, it stands in silence. By mastering these 8 Stoic moves, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become the unshakable architect of your own peace. The world will always be chaotic, but your mind can remain an impenetrable fortress. If you found value in this philosophy, hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the wisdom of the ancients. Stay stoic.